this, of course, is the villa where the footprint of the original Elvis suite would be in here. So the maps that they gave you kind of explain the location of the original Elvis suite. The original Elvis suite was a 5,000 square foot penthouse that was on the 30th floor of the International Hotel. At that time, the only two things that were up here on the 30th floor were the Elvis suite and the first rooftop supper club, nightclub in Las Vegas called, originally it opened as the Sky Room, and then it became the Crown Room. So when you're looking at the map, and there's a bigger map here on the wall, the gold is the outline of where the Elvis suite was. And you're standing in there right now. You're about right here. This is where the entrance was. And it was Elvis's bedroom was here. And then there was the living room, dining area, common areas were here. And then there were four other bedrooms that were over here for the entourage and his guests and all of that. Now, we still refer to this as kind of where Elvis's suite was because the whole footprint was in here. To give you some perspective, when you walk in that door, and Priscilla Presley was here to take a tour after it was renovated, and when she walked in, she looked right over and she said, that's right about where our bedroom was and our bed was, and that would be right here. So we've had a number of people on the tours laying on the floor and taking their pictures so they could say they were laying in Elvis's bed. But you're welcome to do that if you like, and if anybody needs help getting back up from the floor, you can do that too. But to give you some perspective of how much it's changed, you know, the late 60s and early 70s were known for a lot of things, but stylish decor was not one of them. So we have a couple of photos, and I'll put this over here so you can take a look. But this is a picture of what it looked like in Elvis's suite when he was here. You can see all the gold. This photograph was taken probably from the other side of these walls, looking back this way, because that was the entrance. And when you come in, you know, everybody loved the little sunken living room, so they had the steps here, this gorgeous orange and yellow shag carpet, and then of course the gold walls. But I'll put it back over there so you can get an idea, or leave it here so you can kind of get a look at what it was like then. What happened in the mid-90s, in 1994, the Hilton Corporation invested $60 million to renovate the entire top floor. And what they did was they started from scratch and they actually expanded the size. So it went from a 5,000 square foot penthouse and one rooftop supper club to 3 gorgeous sky villas. The Imperial is at 14,000 square feet. So that's why that whole other footprint can fit in here. The Versailles across the hall is a 2-story that's 12,700 square feet, small. And that's where Barry Manilow stays when he's here performing. And then the Verona across the way is over 15,000 square feet, and that is the largest hotel suite in the US. We think it might be one of the largest in the world, but it's hard to verify that. And then if any of you saw the film Behind the Candelabra with Michael Douglas and Matt Damon, it was a story on Liberace. Mm-hmm. That was all the things that were in the mansion were filmed in that villa. So that gives you an idea of kind of the changes, but that was done in the mid-90s, and it was an investment of $60 million. In today's money, it would be about $125 million. But I'd like to tell people that if Elvis were here today and still performing and staying at the hotel, this would be where he'd be. Much more fit for a king. Now, when we're taking the tour, what we're going to do is walk into all the rooms, and then we've got some photographs that we found when the property celebrated its 50th anniversary. We found a storage room that was loaded with all these boxes, and when we went through the boxes, we found like a treasure trove of all these photographs of Elvis Presley, of other performers that were here, other historical events. A lot of them we had blown up, and they're displayed throughout the property if you saw some of them. So we've got a few of those that we're especially proud of that we'll be able to show you and tell you a little story about. First one, and I'm sure most of you have already seen this one. This was obviously Elvis Presley, but back of house. So this was taken July 28th, 1969. Every time I saw it, I thought it was actually on July 31st, and it was a photograph of him going to the theater to perform that night. It actually wasn't. He was probably going to the theater to check it out, and then maybe to rehearsal, but they didn't rehearse in the theater. They did their rehearsals in one of the ballrooms. And the ballrooms are down at the convention center here. So this was taken as he was walking through back of house, and the team members used to love it because he'd go through and over where the employee dining room was. He'd be in there where all the work was going on behind the scenes, and our team members really got a chance to get to know him and meet him. In fact, I don't know if you saw the display where they've got some of the stories from some of our team members that can share their time when they had met Elvis. One of my favorites, I think you guys know Alonzo, one of our bellmen. He tells a story that he was talking to another team member who said that he needed a car. And Elvis overheard him saying that, and the next day showed up with a car for him. So if I were a team member, I would have said every day that I needed a car and hoped that he had given me one. But that's this kind of guy he was. So anyway, this was a photograph that as he was probably heading to the theater. Now the very first tour we did of this, we typically don't do these, we're only doing the tours for the special events of the last 2 days. But the first tour we did yesterday morning, there was a lady who was here and she said she was the biggest Elvis fan. I'm gonna guess you would argue with her on that, but yeah. She said she was the biggest Elvis fan and she said this is her favorite picture and she said, I have a name for it, do you wanna know what that is? And I was a little nervous to ask her, but I said, yeah, what do you call it? She said, I call it one button away from paradise. So I told her I was gonna use that for the rest of the tour. So come on with me. And feel free, there'll be plenty of time for you to wander around, and for any pictures you want to take or anything like that, just feel free. Now, I will let you know that the pool was not here, with the original Elvis suite. The pools were added when the Sky Villas were renovated. So each one has its own pool. You guys don't like that.
This
No?
was 20 years. This is the first time I come over here.
Oh
I
my
worked
gosh.
20.
Well, it's about time.
No.
But the pools weren't here. They were added when they did the renovations in 1994, and then it opened in 95. Did you see Elvis perform here? No. Did you go to the show last night? From what I understand, that was a pretty good representation of what the opening night was like.
Yeah. You ever been to Graceland?
I have not.
My house is a little Graceland.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Lucky you.
I have all the gold records going up the wall
Oh, that sounds amazing.
and everything. I have a lot of things of Elvis.
Oh, great.
A lot of letters and
We'll probably add, we had a lot of memorabilia that some collectors brought in just for the events, but the CEO of Westgate is a big Elvis fan, and I think he'll be buying some more stuff, so.
yeah, we could buy some more stuff from him.
Pardon me?
Did he sell me stuff?
No, he's looking to buy stuff.
Oh, okay.
Come on in,
So
folks.
this room is what?
So this is one of the bedrooms. This wasn't here, and the bedrooms that they had in the suite then, again, was very different. 5,000 square feet was pretty big for that time, but the rooms were more standard what you'd see in a typical hotel room at the time. But this one is where I want to share one of the photographs as soon as the rest of the group come in. Come on in. So when we found a lot of the photography, there was a storeroom that we looked at and we uncovered all these photographs. And a lot of them I'd seen before. I came back in to do a walkthrough for this a couple of weeks ago and saw this, and this is the first time I'd seen this particular portrait. This was taken on August 1st, 1969 at the press conference that they did the day after the opening night. And I've never seen a picture of him like that with that expression on his face and this kind of thing. And it was interesting because they said the picture was taken during the press conference when someone asked if he was happy to be performing live again, and his response was yes. And he said that that last night was the best night of his life. He felt that excited about how the show went, and then he was able to perform live again. Now earlier today, Donna Presley, who is Elvis's cousin, who's been here, and it was her first time here after all these years. She actually stayed at Graceland and was there a lot of times, but she was never here to see him perform. But she said that what that reminded her of was that, as many of you probably know that follow Elvis, he was quite the prankster, and he loved to play personal jokes and like to fit with people. She said that was an expression that he made that looked like he was probably seeing that something he had done or something he was about to get caught doing. But we love that picture. We'll move on to the next room.
This is a house, yeah. This is a huge house. It's a mansion. Wow.
Now in this room, you definitely want to check out the bathrooms. You got to take a look at the jacuzzi tub. You would be able to stand in the jacuzzi tub and it would come up, the water would come up to you.
They didn't have that back then, though.
No, no, I think probably a tub with a shower.
Yeah.
Right? And that was pretty good. Where our people have gone here.
Is any of this like the same furniture?
No,
Nothing?
if you look at the picture, you can kind of, the furniture was very late 1960s, 1970s. And I don't think any of them saved. You know, people have been asking about that. Hey, why didn't they save some stuff? You know, after he passed, I don't think people realized, you know, I don't think they understood, hey, we should probably maybe preserve some of this. You know, I don't think it's really been thought of really until recently, although if you did the theater tour, they did preserve the spot on the original stage floor at the spot where Elvis used to stop and say a prayer before he'd go on. They still have part of the original bars and the dressing room and original mirror, so there's more things saved there, but it's more difficult here. But what we like about this picture right here, this was taken on September 4th, 1972, and it was taken at the press conference where they made the announcement of the Aloha from Hawaii TV satellite show of that concert. That particular show, I don't know how many people of you saw it. I guess we wouldn't have seen it live in the U.S. because they didn't air it until a couple months after in the U.S., but around the world they did. So 1.5 billion people saw that show. And we were talking about it before we started doing the tours, and if you think about it, if you go back to 1973, the total world population was about 4 billion people, I believe. So that means that more than 1/3 of all the people in the world saw that particular TV show, which is pretty amazing, right? So once a month, I do a show here called My Brother Elvis with David Stanley, Elvis's stepbrother. I don't know if any of you had a chance to see him yesterday afternoon at the iBar. But he tells a lot of stories because he grew up, his mother married Elvis's dad a couple years after Elvis's mom passed away. And David and his brothers moved into Graceland when David was 4 years old in 1960. So basically grew up with Elvis as his big brother. And he Elvis asked him to drop out of school when he was, I think, 16 or 17 and come on tour with him. So he was on tour as a bodyguard and a personal assistant. Well, anyway, before Elvis would go in and perform, David would usually stop into his dressing room, make sure he was okay, right? So before he did that with the Aloha Hawaii show, he was talking to one of the TV producers, and he was saying, how many people do you think are going to watch this? And the producer said, we think about 1.5 billion people are going to tune into this. And David was like, oh my gosh, wow. So he goes in to check on Elvis, as he always does, and when he walks in, he says, hey boss, are you nervous at all? And Elvis said, no, I'm good. He goes, yeah, because I was just talking to one of the producers, and he said there's going to be 1.5 billion people watching the show, and Elvis was like, well, now I'm nervous. Yeah. But the press conference was done in one of the ballrooms. So the press conferences in those days were always done in one of the ballrooms because there was a lot of attention from the media that would come for that. And that's where they made the big announcement that they'd be doing the TV special. And that was done here. And those ballrooms are still in existence. That's where they did their rehearsals. And I think you might still find some of that gold wallpaper on some of the walls down there. What's that?
Thank you. We said thank you.
On some of those walls, those moving walls down there.
Can we check the bathroom?
He's gonna look good, yeah.
He's just gonna taste it at the end, he'll let you guys wander around.
Yeah, he was all right. So how long have you been an Elvis fan?
Since I was a kid, my grandma introduced me to him, and she absolutely loved him.
So it
So,
was way before the movie.
oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's been a lot of new fans since the movie came out. And I've met like some of the younger girls that are influencers. They said they went to see the movie because they were Austin Butler fans and then started doing research on Elvis and just became huge fans.
Yeah, I grew up on like 50s and 60s music.
Did
So,
you?
yeah.
It's good. It's classic. Come on in. Everybody come a little bit further. So these photographs were taken also at the press conference the morning, the day after the show. I always say morning, but Elvis was doing, back in those days, today people come to Vegas and do 8 shows and call it a residency. But back when Elvis was performing in that first run of shows from July 31st till I think about August 28th, he did 57 shows. They would do 2 shows a night. They did an 8 o'clock dinner show and a 10 o'clock cocktail show. So the press conference was probably later because David tells me that Elvis used to, they would not really get up until 4 in the afternoon and then get ready for the show. And one thing he always liked to be up in time because his favorite show to watch on TV was the Match Game. Who knew, right? But anyway, these photographs were taken at the press conference. You might want to get photographs of these 2 plaques. This is a transcript of the photo of the press conference. So the questions that he was asked and his answers. And when you look at it, it's very different than the kind of questions they'd ask at a press conference today, but there's some really cool things there. Anyway, a couple things to notice on the photographs. Over here, kind of hiding in the background, that's Vernon Presley, that's Elvis's dad.
Oh, yeah.
He always loved this bracelet, but it was a loose bracelet, he didn't like it to move. So we found out, somebody was telling us a story that he used to do a double-sided tape on the bracelet so it wouldn't move. You can actually see that in this photograph. Are any of you local Las Vegans? Very good. So you're familiar with Opportunity Village?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you know the story about Elvis's scarves. So Colonel Park, you know that over at Opportunity Village, they make, it's a campus and facility that helps mentally challenged kids and adults. They do different jobs and they get it's a place for them to go and maybe get some treatment, but also to kind of, do some things and help make money. One of the things they do they make scarves. And the Colonel worked with them to make the deal. The scarves that Elvis would wear and the scarves that he'd give away during the show were made by the residents at Opportunity Village. And so if you've ever seen the OV Elvi perform, and it's some of the kids that are there and they dress as Elvis and they do a performance because they want to celebrate that connection. But you always hear the bad things about Colonel Parker, and I thought that was a really cool thing that they did back then. And they still sell scarves, some really nice ones, for a lot more money than they were getting back then. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys check out both of the bedrooms on your own, but I want to let you know the photographs that are in there. So in the bedroom over here to my right, you'll find a picture of Elvis on stage on opening night. And he's got the guitar and he's doing one of his Elvis moves, which I can't really do, something like this, and it's a great photograph. And then in the room over here is another photograph from the press conference when they announced the Aloha from Hawaii tour, TV show.
Can I take a picture of your garden?
Well, I guess you have to. You want to be in it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
We'll get one out there when we're coming out.
Okay. I love the outfit.
Oh,
I love you, period.
Either one, either side.
Look at the.
But you got it.
This is too much for me. I don't want to even go to work because this is my house. Right? That's beautiful. Yeah, for sure.
将軍。
3分全然だね。
いや、どこで出会ったのか、最終的に。
一番広かったとこ。
あそこ桜のバックに桜の木が入ってて。
あ、そうなの？それは来たこと？
Where are you from? What?
Is it Flinders?
Sort of. Oh, okay.
You know, we're like 30 minutes from Marcus.
Fix that hair.
It's okay, I just go sideways.
Have you ever been to a concert here?
Yeah, been to Navajo a few times.
You can actually get pretty good show.
Yeah, he does, he does. And then when menopause was here.
Oh,
long
yeah,
time
that was
ago.
long.
Yeah, I was at that one too.
Oh, you're a veteran.
Yeah.
あ、
外に出てみたいんだけど。
Wow, unbelievable.
this is a photograph of the Mike Douglas show. We have to look at the building, it kind of gives you an idea of the decor, and then that one. Yeah, and this photo was taken right about here. Well, his brother actually stays here and lives at the hotel. And he's kind of an ambassador for the hotel, and if you go to the timeshare preview center a few days a week, you'll find him in there. He's got a little thing where you can meet him, and he has some photographs he'll autograph, and he has his books here. And yeah, I got to know him while I was working here, and when they decided to do the show, we were mutual with him. So, he's a good guy, great stories, interesting perspective. Sometimes he you know, he doesn't hold back on his opinions. He's got some great stories. You know, like, imagine what it's like. You know, if you don't know who he is, you know, it would, you know, to him it was normal that he picked up his school and picked things up. Everybody would go nuts when his brother would be around. And then they would go every summer when he'd be in Hollywood doing another movie, that everybody would go. He was very big on his family time, his family around. So when he went to Hollywood to film movies, the kids all went. And his cousin Donna, who was here, so Donna's dad was Elvis's dad's brother. And Elvis would always want family at Graceland, so she was there in case he grew up on Graceland too. But she never made the trip, and she never got to come to Vegas. She always said she kept saying she wanted to go and never did, and then, you know, when he passed away, so this was her first time here at the hotel. She was really excited, yeah. And she said that, you know, a lot of times people will tell us performers that they're performing in the theater will say, you know, there's all these stories about divorce and all this, but they'll say that they feel his presence. And she said that